Hello, fourth grade. Today we're going to work on decimals greater than 1, lesson 13-4. Okay, we can write mixed numbers as decimals. So 2 and 75 hundredths, if I write that as a decimal, I would write 2 as my whole number, and then put my decimal point and 75 hundredths. I can write it that way or this way. Both of those say the same thing, 2 and 75 hundredths. So let's look here on page 205. So at number 1, okay, I have 1 whole, so that would be my whole number, 1, and then I need to count the little squares, and I can see that 66 hundredths. So 1 and 66 hundredths is a fraction, and a whole number, which would be a mixed number, 1 and 66 hundredths, and I can write that as a decimal as 1. Instead of writing 66 hundredths as a fraction, I'll write it as a decimal. 1 and 66 hundredths. Number 2 says 3 and 24 hundredths. So I'll put the 3, and then I put the decimal point and put 24 hundredths, which is the same thing as 3 and 24 hundredths. They're both read the same way. So these are decimals that are greater than 1. Okay, so let's look on 206 because that's the page you're going to do. It says to write each number as a decimal. These are all mixed numbers except number 8, which is a whole number. Okay, so number 1 says 5 and 42 hundredths. 5 and 42 hundredths. All right, if we write that as a decimal, I'd write 5 and 42 hundredths. That's number 1. Okay, number 5 says 25 and 9 tenths. To write that as a decimal, I'm going to put 25, then my decimal point, and 9 tenths. Remember, on place value, we have the ones, and then the decimal point, and then tenths, and then hundredths. Okay, so ones, decimal point, tenths, and hundredths. Okay, so on 1 through 10, you have to write each number as a decimal. Now let's look at number 8, 52. Okay, 52 is a whole number. So 52. Okay, if I wanted to make it a decimal, I would just put 52 and put a decimal point, and I have 0 tenths. But we would just normally write that as 52. Okay, and then let's look down at number 18. It says, can you write a decimal to represent 3 and 12 tenths? Explain. Well, let's look at that. If I have 3 and 12 tenths, first we'll write it as a mixed number. 3 and 12 tenths. Well, we know that 12 tenths equals 1 and 2 tenths, because I divide to change that into a mixed number, an improper fraction to a mixed number. 1 and 2 tenths. So now we'll put my 1 with the 3 and make that 4 and 2 tenths, which I can then write as a decimal as 4 and 2 tenths. So yes, you can write 3 and 12 tenths as a decimal. It would just be written 4 and 2 tenths. So go ahead and do page 206.